Every winter, the same thing happens in every grocery store in America. The prices of certain everyday items quietly creep up, not because of some crisis, but because of plain old supply and demand. Soup sells more in January. Flour sells more before the holidays. Hot cocoa practically disappears in December. And here's the part most people never think about. Those seasonal price bumps are predictable. They happen every single year on roughly the same schedule, which means if you know what's coming, you can buy ahead in the fall at the year's lowest prices and simply skip the markup everyone else pays. That's what this video is: 15 cheap, everyday grocery items that reliably get more expensive as winter sets in. And that's store well enough to buy now. No panic, no fake shortages, no buy before it's all gone. Just the ordinary rhythm of grocery prices used in your favor for once. Every item on this list costs just a few dollars, keeps for months or years when stored right, and is something you'll genuinely use. Stick around for number 1. It's the single most winter-inflated item in the entire store, and almost everyone waits until exactly the wrong month to buy it. Let's get into it. Let's start simple. Crackers, saltines, butter crackers, whatever your family eats, are one of the cheapest shelf-stable foods in the store, often around $2 a box. And their demand quietly climbs from November through the holidays because they show up on every party platter and next to every bowl of winter soup. The best by date on a box of crackers is usually 6 to 9 months out, but kept sealed and dry, they stay perfectly good well past it. The worst that happens is they lose a little crispness, and 10 minutes in a low oven brings that right back. The storage trick is simple. Once a sleeve is open, move it to an airtight container, because air is what makes crackers go stale, not time. Unopened boxes just need a cool, dry shelf. Buy 4 or 5 boxes in early fall when they go on sale, and you've covered soup season for the price of a single coffee. Small item, small savings, but it sets up the pattern you're going to see 15 times in this video. Buy in the off-season, store it right, skip the markup. One more reason crackers earn their spot. They're the quiet workhorse of holiday hosting. Guests drop by, you need something on the table in 2 minutes, crackers, a block of cheese, done. The families who buy them in September aren't just saving $1 a box. They're skipping that December run to the store where the party aisle is picked clean and everything left is premium priced. Cheap insurance for the busiest month of the year. Here's the most obviously seasonal item on this list. Nobody buys hot cocoa in July, and stores know it. Cocoa mix is cheapest in late summer and early fall, and by December it's front of store, full price, moving fast. The mix itself is extremely durable. Sealed tins and packets keep their quality for around 2 years, and even past that they're safe. Powder products with almost no moisture just don't spoil. If the powder clumps from humidity, break it up and it's fine. There's also a real budget angle here beyond the seasonal bump. Cocoa prices on the world market have been volatile for years, and chocolate products have crept up in price faster than most groceries. Buying your winter supply early costs you nothing and hedges you against both. A canister or 2 per month of winter is plenty for most families. Grab them in October, when the first snow hits and everyone else is paying peak season prices. Yours is already on the shelf. And if you want to stretch it even further, skip the pre-made mix entirely. Plain cocoa powder plus the sugar you already stockpile makes hot chocolate for a fraction of the packet price. And pure cocoa powder keeps its quality for a good 3 years, longer than any mix. Add a jar of marshmallows bought in the fall, and the whole winter ritual costs less per mug than a single coffee shop visit costs per year of Tuesdays. Canned vegetables in general are a fall bargain, and corn is the flagship. Here's why. The American corn harvest wraps up in fall, canners run at full capacity, and grocery stores respond with case lot sales, often dropping cans to their lowest price of the year. Then winter comes, fresh vegetables get expensive, everyone leans on canned goods, and the price drifts up. Same can, same corn, different month, different price. Canned corn keeps its best quality for around 3 to 5 years, and it's safe well beyond that, as long as the can is intact. The rules are the ones you already know. Reject anything bulging, deeply dented on a seam, or rusted through. A clean, sound can is a tiny time capsule. At well under $1 a can on sale, this is one of the cheapest ways to put vegetables on the table all winter. Buy a case in October, stack it in a cool closet, and rotate it into everyday cooking. Nothing on this list is easier. And don't stop at corn. The same fall price logic covers the whole canned vegetable aisle. Green beans, peas, carrots, mixed vegetables, all packed at harvest, all cheapest in the same window, all with the same 3 to 5 year quality horizon. A mixed case gives you a vegetable side for every dinner of the winter at a per serving cost that frozen and fresh simply can't touch in February. This is the most boring item on the list, and boring in a pantry is exactly what you want. Raisins, dried cranberries, dates, dried apricots. This whole category has one giant demand spike. It's holiday baking. From Thanksgiving to New Year's, every fruitcake, cookie tray, and stuffing recipe in America pulls from the same shelf, and prices respond. September and October are your buying window before the baking rush begins. And dried fruit rewards buying ahead. Sealed packages keep excellent quality for 6 months to a year, and stored airtight in a cool, dark cupboard they go well beyond that. If a batch of raisins gets a little sugary or stiff over time, that's crystallized sugar, not spoilage. A quick soak in warm water brings them back for baking. Beyond baking, dried fruit quietly earns its pantry space all winter. It goes into oatmeal, trail mix, and school lunches. It needs no refrigeration, and it's one of the few sweet snacks with a genuinely long shelf life. Buy it before the bakers do. A practical note on where to buy. The baking aisle's little branded canisters are the most expensive form dried fruit takes. The store brand bags, the bulk bins, and the big warehouse club pouches routinely cost 30 to 50% less per pound for the identical product. Decant a big bag into a sealed jar at home, and it looks after itself for months. Same fruit, same shelf, very different receipt. Tea is the drink of cold weather, and its sales curve shows it. Consumption in America climbs sharply once temperatures drop, and specialty and seasonal teas get premium pricing from November on. Meanwhile, tea itself is one of the most storage-friendly things you can buy. Sealed tea bags hold their best flavor for about 2 years, and they stay perfectly safe essentially indefinitely. Old tea just gets weaker, never dangerous. Keep it away from moisture and strong smells, ideally in an airtight tin, and it barely changes. A box of 80 or 100 store-brand tea bags often costs $3 or $4, pennies per cup. Compare that to what a hot drink costs anywhere outside your house. And tea might be the single best cost per comfort item in the store. Stock a few boxes of whatever your household actually drinks in early fall. It takes almost no space, it never really goes bad, and all winter long the cheapest warm drink in America is sitting in your cupboard. Tea also pairs with the rest of your pantry better than almost anything. The honey from our shelf life list sweetens it forever. A box of tea and a jar of honey make a genuinely good gift in a pinch. And when someone in the house catches the inevitable January cold, hot tea is the first thing everyone reaches for. Keep one box of a caffeine-free variety in the stack for exactly those evenings. Future, you will be grateful. All right, top 10. From here on, the items get bigger, more useful, and the seasonal price swings get more noticeable. Not the microwave bags, the plain jar of Kernels. This is one of the great overlooked bargains in the store. A $2 jar of popcorn kernels makes roughly the same amount of popcorn as $10 worth of microwave boxes. And plain kernels last dramatically longer, too. Microwave bags go stale within about a year because of the oils in the bag, but dry kernels sealed in an airtight jar pop just fine for 2, 3, even 5 years. The only thing that ruins them is drying out completely, which a tight lid prevents. Why is it on a winter list? Because popcorn demand rises with movie nights at home season, and because it's the cheapest whole grain snack that exists. When snack prices creep up in winter, the kernel jar doesn't care. A pot, a splash of oil for number 6 on this list, and 30 seconds of shaking. That's a mountain of fresh popcorn for about a quarter. Keep 2 jars in the pantry, and winter snack inflation simply stops applying to you. And the customizing is where it beats the store bags outright. Your own salt, real butter, a shake of cinnamon sugar from the pantry, chili powder if that's your house style. Every one of those add-ons comes from items that store for years. Compare the ingredient list on a microwave bag to corn, oil, salt, and this stops being just a budget move. It's quietly the healthier snack too. Cheapest per serving, longest lasting, and you control every ingredient. Hard to argue with. Everything soup-related climbs in price when soup season arrives, and broth is the base of all of it. Cartons, cans, and bouillon cubes all follow the same curve. Cheapest in late summer, priciest in the dead of winter. For storage, think in tiers. Cartons of broth keep about a year unopened. Canned broth keeps 3 to 5. And bouillon cubes or granules, the dense, salty concentrate, keep around 2 years and take up almost no space at all. A single small jar of granules makes gallons of broth over a winter. Bouillon is the smart stockpile play here. It's the cheapest per serving, the most compact, and the most forgiving. Salt is the main preservative in it, and as we covered in our shelf life video, salt does not quit. Every pot of soup, every stew, every pan sauce and rice dish all winter starts from this shelf. By the base in September, and the most expensive months of soup season are already paid for at off-season prices. One trick that stretches this item further than people expect. Cook your rice and grains in diluted broth instead of water. It costs pennies per pot from bouillon and transforms the cheapest staples in your pantry. The rice and beans we covered last video, into food a family actually looks forward to. The difference between a pantry that gets eaten and one that gets ignored usually isn't the staples. It's the flavor shelf. Broth is the flavor shelf. Jarrah pasta sauce runs on tomato harvest logic. Tomatoes come in through late summer and fall, sauce gets packed, and fall promotions follow. By deep winter, promotions thin out and everyday prices take over. Unopened jars keep their best quality for about 18 months to 2 years. Check the date on the lid, and you'll usually see it's stretching well into the winter after next. Store them in a cool, dark cupboard, and they're one of the most reliable items in the pantry. One honest note, once a jar is open, it's a fridge item with about a week of life. The long shelf life only applies sealed. By sizes your household actually finishes. Pair a fall stock-up of sauce with a dried pasta we covered in our last video, pasta that keeps for a decade, and you got a $2 dinner that's immune to winter pricing, ready on the shelf a dozen times over. A jar of sauce is also more stretchable than the label suggests. A can of diced tomatoes from the next item on this list turns one jar into nearly 2. A spoonful of bouillon deepens a cheap jar into something that tastes simmered. Leftover vegetables disappear into it without complaint. That's the real reason sauce belongs in a stockpile. It's not just a product, it's a base, and bases forgive whatever the week throws at them. Same harvest, same logic, but even more flexible. Canned tomatoes are the raw ingredient version of number 8, and fall is their cheapest season for exactly the same reason. Whole, diced, crushed, or paste, they all keep top quality for around 18 months to 2 years. Tomatoes are more acidic than most canned goods, which is why the window is a bit shorter than canned corns. The acid slowly works on the can from the inside. Still, that's 2 winters of coverage from one fall purchase. Almost every cheap winter comfort dish starts here. Chili, pasta sauce from scratch, tomato soup, stew, shakshuka, curry. A case of store brand cans in October costs about what 2 jars of ready-made sauce cost in January. If you only take one canned item from this list beyond soup, make it this one. It's the most versatile can in the store, and its price calendar is as predictable as the seasons. Here's the January math that makes the case by itself. A can of crushed tomatoes, a spoon of bouillon, and a splash of the powdered milk from our last video makes a pot of tomato soup for well under $1. The same soup that costs $3 to $4 a can in the ready-made aisle that same month. Multiply that by a winter's worth of lunches, and this humble case of cans quietly becomes some of the best grocery money you spend all year. Now for the item where I have to be honest with you about the limits. Cooking oil sees real holiday demand. November and December are frying and baking season, and oil prices firm up accordingly. Buying a bottle or 2 ahead in early fall genuinely saves money. But unlike almost everything else on this list, oil does not keep forever, and most videos skip this. Vegetable and canola oil hold their quality for about 12 to 18 months unopened. Olive oil is similar. Past that, oil slowly goes rancid. It won't hurt you, but it tastes off and it's wasted money. So the rule for oil is buy ahead, not in bulk. 2 or 3 bottles before the holiday bump, stored in a cool, dark cupboard. Never next to the stove, because heat and light are what age oil fastest. Buy what you'll use in a year, rotate it, and you capture the seasonal savings without ever pouring rancid oil down the drain. Smart stockpiling means knowing what not to hoard, too. If you do want a longer-lasting fat in the pantry, there are 2 honest upgrades. Coconut oil holds its quality for around 2 years, thanks to its saturated fat structure. And ghee, clarified butter, keeps similarly long because the milk solids that spoil have been removed. Both cost more per ounce than vegetable oil, so treat them as the deep reserve and the cheap bottle as the daily driver. Fats are the one category where by the sale out is the wrong move. Precision beats volume here. Top 5. These are the heavy hitters, the items with the biggest winter demand, the longest track records, and the best price per meal math in the store. Flour has one of the most reliable demand spikes in the entire grocery store: holiday baking. From mid-November through December, America bakes, and flour moves off shelves at a pace the rest of the year never touches. Stores know it, and the early fall sales are your window. White all-purpose flour keeps about a year at room temperature in an airtight container. And here's a trick worth knowing. A few days in the freezer when you first bring it home kills any flour mite eggs, and long-term freezer storage extends it to 2 years or more. One honest callback from our shelf life video. Whole wheat flour is the exception. Its natural oils go rancid in a few months, so buy that fresh as needed. Deep stock only the white flour. A 5-pound bag costs a couple of dollars in October. By Christmas week, when you're out and every store is picked over, that same bag is full price, if it's there at all. 2 bags ahead is all it takes. And remember what a bag of flour actually is. It's pancakes, biscuits, pizza dough, gravy, homemade bread, and every cookie of the season, all in one $2 package. Combined with the yeast-free basics, baking soda and baking powder keep for ages sealed. Flour turns your pantry from a collection of ingredients into an actual kitchen. Of everything on this list, it has the highest ceiling. Nothing else $2 buys can become this many different meals. Canned tuna is the cheapest shelf-stable animal protein in the store, full stop. On sale, it's often under $1 a can, and each can is a full serving of protein that needs no refrigeration, no cooking, and no planning. It also stores like a champion, 3 to 5 years of best quality, safe beyond that in a sound can. That makes it a rare double-purpose buy. Everyday lunches all winter, and a genuine emergency protein reserve sitting quietly at the back of the shelf. Winter matters here because protein prices in general, meat, eggs, fish, tend to firm up through winter holidays, and canned proteins get pulled along. The can that was 79 cents in a fall sale flyer rarely stays there by February. Buy a dozen when the fall sale hits. Mix in some canned chicken or salmon if your family prefers it. The storage math is identical. Protein is the most expensive macro on any grocery bill, and this is the cheapest way to bank it. The recipe range is wider than people give it credit for, too. Tuna melts, tuna pasta, tuna cakes with the flour from number 5, tuna, and rice with a spoon of bouillon broth. 5 pantry items from this very list combine into a hot, high-protein dinner that costs under $2 a serving in the most expensive food month of the year. That's the whole philosophy of this channel in a single plate. Yes, in our last video we told you dried beans keep for decades, and that's still true. But canned beans earn their own spot on this list for a different reason. Convenience has a price curve too, and in winter it climbs. Canned beans are chilly season's raw material. From the first cold snap through the Super Bowl, bean demand in America runs hot, and the fall case lot sales are when stores clear space and prices bottom out. Storage, 3 to 5 years of best quality, same can rules as always. And every can is a finished ingredient. No soaking, no hour of simmering, just open and cook. On a weeknight in January, That difference is why the cans get eaten and the dried bag sometimes doesn't. The Smart Pantry carries both. Dried beans as the deep reserve, cans for actual Tuesday dinners. At 50 to 80 cents a can in a fall sale, stacking 20 of them costs about what 2 takeout meals do, and covers a whole winter of chili. Variety is worth a sentence here, because beans are not interchangeable in the kitchen. Black beans for rice bowls and tacos, kidney beans for chili, chickpeas for soups and homemade hummus, white beans for stews. They all share the same price calendar and the same shelf life. So a mixed case costs no more than a single type case, but it keeps a whole winter of dinners from tasting like the same dinner. Monotony kills more pantries than spoilage ever has. Peanut butter might be the best calorie per dollar food in the entire store. Around 600 calories of protein and fat per dollar, shelf-stable, kid-approved, and eaten straight from the jar with zero preparation. Unopened, a standard stabilized jar keeps its best quality for about a year, and it's typically fine for 6 to 9 months past the printed date. The honest distinction: natural peanut butter, the kind that separates, has a shorter happy life and prefers the fridge after opening. For deep pantry stock, the standard stabilized jars are the play. Winter hits peanut butter twice. Holiday baking pulls jars off shelves in December, and peanut butter is a cold weather lunch staple all season. Add in the fact that its price has climbed steadily over the past few years like most protein products, and buying ahead is just math. 2 or 3 large jars bought on a fall promotion will carry a family deep into spring. Per calorie, nothing else on this list even comes close. It's also the emergency food nobody thinks of as emergency food. No cooking, no water, no refrigeration. Dense enough that one jar carries a person for days if it ever truly had to. Emergency agencies quietly listed among the top foods to keep on hand for exactly those reasons. You're not buying it for that. You're buying it for lunches and cookies, but it's a genuinely comforting thing to know about the jar at the back of the shelf. Here it is, the most seasonally priced item in the American grocery store. Canned soup lives and dies by winter. Sales double or more when the cold hits. January is soup's Super Bowl, and its retail price calendar reflects that with almost comic precision. The pattern runs like this. Late summer and early fall bring the year's deepest soup promotions, stores stocking the aisle for the season ahead, often at half of the winter price, sometimes better on case deals. Then demand arrives, promotions fade, and the same can cost dramatically more in the exact weeks everyone actually wants it. Storage is a non-issue. Canned soup keeps best quality for 3 to 5 years, safe beyond in a sound can. Buy in September, eat through March, and you'll never want to pay January prices. And one honest note, so this stays real, canned soup is salty. That sodium is part why it keeps so well. Balance it with the plain canned vegetables from earlier in this list, and treat the fancy low-sodium versions as the exception you pay up for, not the stockpile base. A winter's worth of soup, say 40 cans, bought at fall case sale prices can cost $20 to $30 less than the identical cans bought can by can in January and February. That's the single easiest grocery win of the year, and it repeats every year forever. That's why it's number 1. One last upgrade before we wrap the list. Treat canned soup as a starting point, not a finished product. A handful of the canned corn from earlier, a spoon of beans, leftover rice, a shake of dried herbs. 30 seconds of effort turned to 90 cents can into something that eats like homemade. The stockpile isn't just about paying September prices in January. It's about the fact that on the coldest, most tired night of the winter, a hot dinner is already in the house, 7 different ways. So there you have it. 15 everyday items, one simple pattern. Grocery prices breathe with the seasons, and fall is when you inhale. Notice what this list didn't require. No bunker, no panic, no $1,000 shopping spree. Just knowing the calendar. Buy soup, broth, and cocoa before the cold. Buy flour and dried fruit before the bakers. Buy tomatoes and sauce at harvest time. Store everything cool, dark, and dry, and rotate it through meals you're going to cook anyway. If you do this with even half the list, you'll walk through the most expensive grocery months of the year quietly paying September prices. Not because of a secret, because of a season. It was always there. Most people just never look at the calendar. And if you want a number to aim at, a family that front loads, just the top 5 items on this list: soup, peanut butter, beans, tuna, and flour. At fall sale prices typically bank somewhere between $50 and $100 across a single winter from 1 or 2 extra shopping trips in October. Not life-changing money, but it's the same hour of shopping you do anyway, and it pays you back every single year you repeat it. If this was useful, hit subscribe. We put out new pantry and stockpiling videos all the time, with real numbers and no fear-mongering. And tell me in the comments, which of these do you already buy ahead?